love you. Because every production company needs its own universe. Here comes Legendary's MonsterVerse.
They needed it.
Ba-dum-bum.
I don't know if that you're trying to be sarcastic, because it's a much needed thing in everyone's life.
A cinematic universe.
This universe particularly.
I mean, it's better than other universes that production companies have tried to start, like that Tom Cruise Mummy universe, which I think was also called the Monster Universe.
I thought it was going to be the same thing for some reason. I don't know.
The MonsterVerse. I'm not sure. I mean, I don't think the Mummy was going to be part of the King Kong Godzilla Godzilla world.
Well,
that would be so difficult.
It'd be like the Storm versus them. Godzilla as a mummy. They kill him in one of the movies, and then the mummy curse awakens him.
Oh, that'd be pretty cool. I like that. Shit. But they had like an Invisible Man movie planned with Johnny Depp, I think, and like
there was an Invisible Man movie though. But
they made that one, but they had another one planned that was supposed to be part of the Mummy universe that tanked. I think that might have came out because the original one tanked.
Got canned,
which is good. They also had. What was his name as Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde? Russell Crowe.
Oh, really? That could have been interesting. I mean, he's got chops. Like, he probably could have pulled two characters.
He's in the Mummy movie with Tom Cruise as Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, and it kind of was hilarious. I don't remember much about that movie, honestly.
I do not remember anything about that I don't even know if I saw that movie. I may not have seen that movie.
Have you at least seen the trailer where it's just like the background audio cuts out on the plane crash and Tom Cruise is just screaming over nothing?
Right, yeah. That was weird. Was it supposed to be like that?
No, I think they just submitted a bad cut of the trailer, and then that got posted online. And they're like, "Fuck, take it down quick." We're not talking about any of that. We're talking about the MonsterVerse. That started way back in 2014 with Gareth Edwards' Godzilla. We're not talking that movie today. Maybe someday. I mean, I would like to do a Godzilla playlist. I mean,
I watched it for this because I hadn't seen it before.
And you realized what I said when I was just like, it's not that good. There's like 15 minutes of fun.
Yeah, they made it about the people, but yet again, they didn't really focus on the people. So there was nobody focused on in this film. But it does set up some things for Godzilla King of Monsters. So I'm glad I watched it for this.
Yeah. But
yeah, this is our trilogy triumvirate of 4 movies.
Yeah, I had told you initially, I was like, dude, you don't have to watch Godzilla, the Gareth Edwards one. You can go straight to Kong Skull Island and just watch 2, 3, and 4 and be fine. And then I started watching Godzilla King of Monsters, and I was like 20 minutes in, and I was like, I should text Blake and tell him he should probably watch Gareth Edwards' Godzilla if he hasn't seen it.
I had already decided to do that, so I was a step ahead of you, and I am glad I did.
Yeah, I've watched it once, honestly. I should give it another go, because I'm really harsh on it, but I just remember watching that film in theaters and being like, did this guy not realize everybody came to this monster movie to see a monster?
Yeah,
it's like people shit on Cloverfield, but that movie wasn't about going to see the monster. It was about going to the experience of this monster destroying something, and it's interesting. We'll talk that some other day. I'd love to talk that movie someday.
Sure.
But with Godzilla, you're there to fucking see Godzilla. You want to see this.
Yeah.
There's Toho released Shin Godzilla not too long after Gareth Edwards' Godzilla. I believe it came out after Gareth Edwards. And I watched that with the Ronvald Descald, and we were just riveted because it understood that, hey, you want it fell into that thought that it's like you have to please them with a human subplot, but we are going to focus on Godzilla and the evolution of Godzilla and just like try to make him look and sound and feel great, and it worked so well. And then Gareth Edwards just didn't feel like that. It felt like it focused on the humans, but it did so, as you said, it did so very poorly. And then when Godzilla was around, it was like, yeah, this is fun.
Yeah, speaking of the look of Godzilla, though, I like the look of him in this trilogy of movies. I guess he's only in 2 of them. Well, no, he's in 3 of the 4. You're right. Thanks for correcting me, brain mind. And it's my collective outside of my body.
I was gonna say they're gonna think I just like held up a sign that was just like, no, 3.
So I do like the look of Godzilla. I think he looks pretty cool. He does look slightly different in the first one. More dull colors, I think.
Yeah.
But that fucking blue is fucking fantastic. And he really reminds me of Reptar, though, which I know Reptar is based off of Godzilla. So if you're a Rugrats fan, he really looks like Reptar in these movies. Longer neck, and
it's great, especially in King of Monsters. His presence is very well felt.
Right. And, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I guess we should talk first Kong Skull Island, as it is the first of the 3 we're going to talk about.
So I like Kong because I too am a big person and misunderstood. Kong, he lives on Skull Island, and Monarch, headed by Bill Randa, played by John Goodman for 10 minutes, he wants a military escort to go to this island. And when they get there, they start dropping some booms, and this awakens all sorts of shit and alerts Kong, and he starts killing people because he's like, stop blowing up shit. And that is, I think, the lead into the movie. That was really short synopsis, but without like giving away plot shit, that's pretty much what happens.
Yeah, you say lives on Skull Island. He rules.
That's
Skull
right.
Island.
He is the king of Skull Island.
That's why when these military bitches come in and start just throwing bombs down, and with Vietnam time era rock music in the background. Right. Which like why was it Vietnam era? Like, was it just so they could play rock, that kind of era's music? Like,
it might have been maybe like they know that Kong is rock and roll, man, and they needed to be in that era, that 20-year era, and I don't know. Also, like, I think it made the story with the military group headed by Preston Packard, played by Samuel L. Jackson. I think it made their story work a little bit better because he, in particular, the war had just been called off in this story, and his character in particular is like, all that was for nothing then, and so he's ready for one more ride. Really, he's a little bit of a glory hound. It seems like. So he accepts this mission and takes his troop, I really like the joke in the movie where John Goodman says, call in the cavalry, and Samuel L. Jackson said, bitch, we are the cavalry. Yeah. Anyhow, they're there because he wanted really pretty much another ride, and they were all ready to go home, it seemed like, but now they're on this island.
It suited John Goodman's purpose to go map out this island because he knows there's more to it than just scientific developments. Is like, that's their reason for going there and mapping things out, was to like get developments and some shit.
Right.
It's really just a silly, like, how do we get this group of people to Skull Island so Kong can wreck shit up and we can have a good movie? And it's very, I mentioned, like, why is it set in Vietnam? Because it takes a lot of its story from Apocalypse Now. And, and that makes it interesting because it's this group fighting upriver against an enemy that they really just don't understand.
Right.
And so I get why they kept it in the Vietnam era, but it really just boiled down to feeling like they just wanted to play rock music while this epic, awesome scoped gorilla just like destroys fucking monsters in the background. But I mean, I don't know. This movie's a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it.
I did enjoy it, yeah.
Yeah, did we see this one in theaters together, or was this just me and Ronvald?
I think we did see this one together. At least I had seen it before this watch.
Yeah. Just I can't remember if we all watched it or if Ronvald was with us. If it was just you and me, it's the perfect movie to watch with all of us together because
right,
our level of excitement by the action really just like fuels us while we're watching it. Just like it builds our adrenaline and we all get pumped and excited.
And Ronvald's reactions is just amazing. Yeah.
He's a lot of fun in the theater.
He's a lot of fun in the theater, yeah. Like this and the Marvel stuff, but this he goes even more crazy over.
I mean, you go in knowing that you're going to see a kaiju battle. That's
right.
The only thing that you want to see. Like, if you do not if you have an entire movie where you have less than 15 minutes of kaiju fighting something,
right,
it's not going to be fun. I.e., Godzilla of 2014.
Yeah. And I would have to say going in that knowing that he wasn't in the movie very much honestly made it a better watch because I was able to actually look at these people's performances. And like Bryan Cranston's in that movie. I don't remember who's I think his son is played by Ford Brody, but I'm not sure. But anyways, they actually have some chemistry for the little bit that they're in. And do a pretty good job. And that opening story with Bryan Cranston is done really well. There's some really promising things about that movie. It just, I feel like altogether didn't become what it was supposed to be, a monster movie.
Yeah, Kong Skull Island does. Yeah, and when he first appears, so it opens up with a little bit of a prologue where a young version of John C. Reilly's character lands on the island during World War II, right. and so you get like a little taste of Kong and his size. Like he comes over a cliff, and you're just like, oh fuck, and it's really well realized, and you see like the dust pouring off of his fur, and you can see like all these scars on his chest. Like the design of him. I mean, I know he's all CGI, but like the design of him is really well done.
Yeah, he felt real.
And then your first taste of him with the main group of characters, like the John Goodman led scientists and all the soldiers. You have all these helicopters flying, and you got the setting sun. You got that classic like Vietnam War look with the orange sun in the sky, and everything's hazy. Bombs are dropping on the ground, and then the music just comes to a halt. There's a flying tree. And then all of a sudden, there's just a mountain of monkey. Just like, oh, fuck.
Oh, shit. Yeah. And he just he even just grabs a couple of the helicopters and just squeezes. Oh, man. It's some good shit. Like,
and then like later he's like washing blood off of his hands from like the cuts of the helicopters. It's just like it's just a nice little touch where you realize that there's more to this than just a mindless creature. There's a lot of what we would say human in this character. You can relate to Kong.
Right. Yeah.
Like you said, he's a misunderstood tall guy.
That's right. Yeah, I totally get it. And I think also like they do a good job in this movie particularly because there's a bunch of other Kong movies, and if you go and watch those movies, it takes a really long time for the audience even to get clear that Kong has more of a conscience than just an animal in there. I think this movie does a better job of letting you see that early on before they even explain that he is benevolent. Like they even go so far in this movie to say that. So that might be a spoiler. I don't know, but he is a good protector monster of the native peoples of Skull Island.
Yeah, and I feel like that's really well felt in this, especially when you get to John C. Reilly's character.
Right.
Because, you get to see how he has survived on this island and also how as you said, Kong protects the people of the island. He is
Yeah.
he is a living god.
Yeah.
He rules this land, and they worship him. But yeah, as you said, this isn't the first King Kong movie. The first movie came out in 1933. They've only made, this is only the 12th. Actually, no, this would be the 11th Kong film, the 11th King Kong movie. So it's kind of crazy because Godzilla came out.
It. That's
right,
a lot.
Right. Well, Godzilla came out in 1954, and they've made 30. How many? 38. 36. They made 36 Godzilla films.
Yeah, but they have all those different monsters he fights and shit. And
yeah,
where they're like, I don't know. I mean, I guess Kong fights monsters too, but
yeah,
just like,
well, I mean,
I don't know. It just, Godzilla, I feel like the fan base will really got behind Godzilla, and
yeah,
I think it was really easy for them to really saturate the market with Godzilla and make money.
Yeah, that's fair. And this isn't even the first time that King Kong and Godzilla fought. They fought back in 1962. That one's called King Kong versus Godzilla, whereas this is Godzilla versus King Kong. We're going great lengths here.
Good. Yeah, they're like, we got to make sure it's different.
It's got to be different. Yeah, we'll discuss that more when we get to Godzilla versus King Kong.
I would say there was no like performance that was worthy of necessarily accolades or anything. If anybody, that would be John C. Reilly as Hank Marlowe, because I really enjoyed that character. But we do have Tom Hiddleston is in this movie, Brie Larson, we mentioned John Goodman, Corey Hawkins, and Samuel L. Jackson we also mentioned. I think they all had pretty good job, for because they all got a bit of a story. Oh, I should mention Tian Jing too. I think she had an interesting part of the movie, but they never really got much screen time to really make up a story, a performance that would be outstanding in my eyes. But I thought that all those stories and their performances were worth mentioning.
The group, the soldier group in general, like they had very good chemistry together.
They
definitely felt like a pack. They had storylines that tiny little thing like with their kid. One of them was reading a letter from his kid, or writing a letter to his kid, and it became a recurring joke among them. And just tiny little things that it's like it really connected them all. And then later on, there was the twinge of bittersweet sorrow and compassion when their stories came full circle or whatever, and I really liked it. It was just nice little touches to the human characters to make them intriguing while we're there for the monster fight. And it's just and I like the cinematography. I like the music. I like this era of rock, like the Vietnam.
It's
music's
good.
Always fun.
It's good music.
Yeah, as you said, the acting is great. The only thing that really made me sad was I love John Goodman. If ever there is a biography on my life, I know it's impossible, but like if I was able to choose the perfect actors to play people, I would cast John Goodman as my dad, because it's just very similar personalities, and I think John Goodman acts like my dad at times in some movies, and he's very very he's in this for like the first 2/3 of the movie. Like he's in it much longer than I thought I remembered him being in it. But his role is greatly reduced after the first like 15 minutes. It's just kind of just like he's really big at the beginning, and then it's just like, all right, now he's just one of the gang, and it's kind of sad.
It is kind of sad.
Yeah, the only people who get really any kind of time to shine is Brie Larson and Tom Hiddleston.
That's
and neither of them are really focused on until the third act. Like they don't become like the main focus of the movie until then. Right,
yeah. And they're there throughout. I would say that Samuel L. Jackson's character gets a fair amount of screen time. And he always does a great job.
Yeah, but he's not doing anything like really exciting or new here.
Exactly.
It's a very fun monster movie with actual compelling human characters, even if they are very 2D and not exciting. And obviously I'm really just there for Kong to rip the heads off shit and throw trees around.
The skull crawlers.
Yeah, the skull crawlers. They're a pretty cool villain too. I like, these
Yeah.
tiny little lizard things that are kind of like monstrous alligators.
They
And
kind of, honestly, they kind of look like sperm with legs. Because they don't
I mean,
have
that's
any
fair.
back legs. They just have front legs. And then the long, wiggly body with a white head.
Well, sperm is horrifying.
It is
And so
kind of
it
scary.
works as a villain. It
Yeah.
works as a villain. Long snouted and teethed sperm coming at you.
Yeah, that would be terrifying. Jeez, more terrifying than the skull crawlers. Oh, God.
And you watch this movie and Kong comes off as a Titan and it's very entertaining and it's fun. It's all monster movie needs to be is fun. So I give it 3 stars.
That's a good score. That's a good score. Definitely a full-faced movie. I really enjoyed this one. It's definitely a sit back, turn your mind off, and let this adventure unfold. I gotta say, I really liked. I think that it could come off as cheesy, but I really liked the ending with John C. Reilly. That was nice. Like during the credits, that was good.
Yeah.
It told a little story. It didn't feel like, hey, here's a montage or anything like that. It was nice. I liked that. That might be a spoiler. It is. It is a spoiler, but I'm not gonna tell you what happened.
I don't think it's a spoiler. You just said that there's a little montage at the end. That could be a flashback montage. That could be a present day montage. His character can live, die, stay on the island, get off the island. We got to go back from Lost. I do think though. I mean, I kind of talked about it, but I do think the monster design in this movie is really well done. Again, you feel the scope of Kong really well. He definitely, when he interacts with the environment, you feel it. And the skull crawlers, so their inspiration from the 1933 Kong. There's a monster called the two-armed pit lizard. And I guess that's where the designer of them took inspiration from. But he was also the director, Jordan Vogt Roberts. We didn't talk about him much, but he was inspired by Spirited Away and other Studio Ghibli films.
I could see that.
Yeah, their approach to creature design was how he tried to approach these creatures of Skull Island. And I think he did a great job. Like, above and beyond. Loved it. So you ready to move on to Godzilla, King of the Monsters?
Yeah! Get your big monsters. Put them on the Barbie. That was awful. That was bad. I can do a decent Australian accent. That was a bad one. That was very bad.
I just do the good eye might.
Good eye, mate.
Yeah. But anyways, King of the Monsters came out in 2019, directed by Michael Dougherty, who I love for Trick or Treat, which is one of my favorite Halloween movies.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so he wrote that, directed that, and then got this blockbuster deal to make Godzilla King of the Monsters, or King of Monsters, I should say. And he co-wrote it with Zach Shields. I don't fucking know who Zach Shields is, but sorry, Zach. But
you wrote an interesting movie here.
He did, and it is about Monarch, who, as you know, we brought them up in the other 2 movies. We're furthering on them. 2 characters in Monarch. You have Kyle Chandler and Vera Farmiga, and then their daughter Millie Bobby Brown, who are just kind of central to the plot for this movie because they weren't in Gareth Edwards' movie, but they were victims of the Godzilla rampage that occurred in that movie, I believe.
Yes.
And now they're the main focus here, and they lost a son. They're both kind of torn over how to heal from that. And one of them, Vera Farmiga, is a scientist who is exploring how to control these titans. There's got to be some kind of, I don't know, telepathic device or whatever that'll emit a signal that allows humans to control them.
And he's a doctor too, but he's
Doctor
like
Who.
A biologist. No, he's not Doctor Who.
Yeah, he opens up taking photos of Fox. That's like the first time you see him, and
yeah,
it's kind of funny because Kyle Chandler is in Peter Jackson's King Kong way back in 2005. And because he is in Godzilla King of the Monsters, he is brought into Godzilla versus King Kong. So he just gets whammed into another King Kong franchise as a completely different character. It's so funny.
Was he the like buff charismatic guy, the movie star guy from that one?
Man, I've only watched it once, and it wasn't.
I think so.
It wasn't quite riveting to me. It wasn't Lord of the Rings Peter Jackson.
Honestly, dude, I really like that movie. It's 4 hours, probably too long, but I did enjoy that movie. Like I had legit nightmares about the Islanders.
Oh shit.
They're pretty scary. See, like,
I'm willing to give it another shot. I don't know. I don't think I was into these kind of films when I was a kid.
Yeah, that's fair.
I was more interested in films that made me think, and monster beat 'em up movies. They don't really make you think. They're really just like, let's beat shit up.
Well, it'll have to wait for our King Kong playlist.
Yeah, yeah. But it's just like, I don't know. Growing up, I wasn't entertained by these, like, especially Matthew Broderick's Godzilla film. My brother watched that a lot. Yeah, he watched it a lot, but I was not at all entertained. I was just like, I don't care. I watched it once, and I was like, I don't need to see this again. I mean, Jurassic Park was different. Jurassic
Park's amazing.
Yeah,
watched
it
that
riveted me
a lot, too many times, and that would also give us nightmares, and then my mom would be like, well, stop watching that.
But yeah, here in King of Monsters, that's kind of the focus is you have, I don't remember the terrorist group, what their name is.
I don't remember their name either. No.
Yeah, they kind of break in and kidnap with air quotes, kidnap Vera Farmiga and Millie Bobby Brown. And, they're using them to unleash Titans, and release their wrath upon the world.
Right.
Meanwhile, you have the Monarch team of Kyle Chandler, Ken Watanabe, Thomas Middleditch, and Bradley Whitford's in there for some one-liners.
Yeah. I did not like how they utilized him personally.
No, they did not utilize him at all. He was literally just there to be like, here's a funny statement I can say at this moment. And I mean, it's kind of the same with Thomas Middleditch, but they try to give him more things to do. Like, I love Thomas Middleditch. He's one of my favorite comedians, but he's just kind of there to, again, just make funny quips and then just like put himself into situations where it's just kind of a joke that he's part of them. And it's just like, I don't know. It's kind of his humor, but at the same time, it's just like, you're just not utilizing your comedians at all.
Nah.
But their group is trying to get ahead of the terrorist group and save Vera Farmiga and Millie Bobby Brown and save the device that apparently can control Titans. And they do this at the location where the terrorist groups are releasing Ghidorah. King Ghidorah. And that's the big battle. That's, they accidentally free King Ghidorah, and now it's like, oh shit, can we talk Godzilla into fighting for the humans? And that's what this whole movie's about is,
right,
can Godzilla fight for the people? Can he be what we need him to be? Can he be the king of the monsters?
Boom, that is the synopsis. That's good.
And there's also Mothra in there, and Godzilla and her are hinted to have sex at some point, maybe.
I don't know that it's sex, man. Listen, they're like, they have a symbiotic relationship, and it's like, oh, that's kind of nice.
And they had to make a sex joke out of it. They did. They went the length to be like, wait, you telling me that thing and that thing did things? And it's just like, come on now. Like,
yeah.
Such a low bar joke.
Yeah. And you know what? I haven't really watched any of the classic movies because, like you said, it wasn't my go-to thing for sure.
Yeah. I've seen the original Godzilla.
So you don't know about the Mothra movie? then.
No. I just I only watched it as a kid. I literally just like remember a guy in a rubber suit, like
Right.
very very obvious and very enjoyable and very
Yeah. Well, I don't know what their relationship is like in that movie, so that could just be made up for this. We don't know. I decided not to research it because I figured at some point we will watch those movies, because why not?
Yeah, and I don't want it spoiled.
Yeah.
But like, where I feel like this movie differs from Skull Island is it's in the scope of the monsters. And where Kong feels very real, you see like dirt and everything shake off of his fur, and you see all the cuts on him. Godzilla and all the creatures just look like rock. They just look like they're just like these big CGI bulky gray monstrosities, and like their scope is felt. There's so many great moments where you have a wide shot of the scenery and you see Godzilla just like massive, but the wide shot is super far away, so like even though Godzilla's massive, he only takes up like a third of the shot. And then you see how tiny all the buildings and everything is around him.
Yeah, they do some good shots in this.
Yeah, it's really beautiful, and I want to give Michael Dougherty so much applause for that alone. Like, that vision is great, where you feel the epic scope of Godzilla through his size, but the up close details are just kind of bleh. I'm not like, whenever they get close to the monster, except for the blue fins, the scales. But like everything else, I don't know. It doesn't look great. It just kind of looks murky.
That's fair, though. I do like all the monster designs. They're pretty fucking awesome.
Yeah. Oh man, Ghidorah is beautiful.
Like legit scary, and also like just has that like legendary mythical feel to it. I fucking love Ghidorah. It's awesome. And also the Firebird or Fire Lizard, whatever. Rodan, yeah, they're cool. There's a whole bunch of other monsters that pop up. We talked about Mothra. Mothra's design is also really cool, much cooler than I would have thought it would be.
Yeah, when she enters the battle, like, it's beautiful, because it's just like, bright, beautiful lights and her shimmering wings. Like, it's really well recognized. Like, the scope of them is great.
Yeah.
And the designs, as you said, is great. It's just when they get those up-close shots, if they had just gone more practical for up-close shots, like, I think it would have been greater.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
Spend the
Missed
money.
Opportunity, in my opinion.
Get the animators from Jurassic Park. Excuse me, not animators. The android mechanics. Engineers. I guess they're probably engineers. Get them in there and be like, hey, make us Godzilla, please. we just need, enough. We don't need the whole Godzilla, because that'd be scary.
Right, just build the head right now so that we can just use it for a close-up and make it look, very awesome and fucking intimidating.
Right.
And maybe they did that for some scenes, but it doesn't feel like it. It feels very bleh. But... And then the human characters, there's so much focus on Millie Bobby Brown, and I like her. I love her as an actor. I think she's great. Stranger Things obviously is a very fun show, and then she's gone on to do so much other stuff that's shown that she's a good actor. But like, again, the human characters are just not developed really beyond textbook like characteristics.
Right.
And so it's just kind of like they keep focusing on her and Kyle Chandler, and I'm just like, especially Kyle Chandler, like, I don't get why his character gets so much power in this movie. He like walks into a military compound and like takes command. It's like, who the fuck are you? You're a scientist. Like,
he's totally bossing people around, and I did not like his performance. I thought I don't know. It felt pretty lazy to me. I don't know. Like, it felt like, all right, yeah, let's do this monster movie. And he just didn't know. I don't know. Like, he did the thing, he said the lines, and then he left. And maybe, he's doing a better job than I could. But everybody else felt like they actually were their characters. He felt like he was acting. And so I would, yeah, I did not appreciate his performance.
No, I agree. I wasn't too involved with that. I did like, the only one I actually liked was Ken Watanabe.
Yeah, he did.
I mean,
great.
I also like Thomas Middleditch, but that's, Thomas wasn't really, he was just being Thomas Middleditch, and that's just enjoyable.
He really kind of, I don't know, he was forgettable for me in this movie, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, he kind of is. Like, he doesn't, they give him, and they give Kyle Chandler and all these like inconsequential characters, they give them stuff to do to make them important, but it's like, why are you the one to accomplish this goal? Like there's a moment when they're on like a ship or something, and there's like a door that's stuck, and it's like, the door's stuck, it won't open, and Kyle Chandler just like takes off his seatbelt and he gets up and he's like, where's it at, I'll go get it. And it's like, why do you have to be the one to get it? There's like 1,000 soldiers on this ship, and I'm sure any one of them can open this damn door. Like,
right.
And I'm sure a lot of them are closer than the freaking front deck. Like, why do you have to be the one to solve this? Well, because on the main plot, and we have to show it getting solved, so I'll go do it.
Right.
They just didn't know how to use a lot of their characters, and then here comes Ken Watanabe, who was actually in Gareth Edwards' 2014.
Right. There's a couple other characters who came over.
Yeah, Sally Hawkins. Was that the character's name, maybe?
Sally Hawkins, yeah, you're right. As Dr. Vivian Graham, she was in the first one.
Those are the only two I remember, because they're the scientists.
Also, Admiral William Stentz, played by David Strathairn. I really enjoy him as an actor. Everything I've seen him in, I thought he was pretty good. I haven't seen that many movies with Ken Watanabe, but I can also say the same thing. I always think he plays a very intriguing character.
Yeah, I think so too. And I think he's the only one that I really felt anything for in this movie.
Right.
Because the big controversy of this movie, the big like driving factor with the humans is, should we kill the Titans, or are there some who are good protectors for us? That's a good topic to talk about, because I think he should just kill the fucking Titans, because not only are they deadly to human life and other life on Earth, they're destructive of the Earth to the point where it might not be freaking habitable for anything after a while.
Right? Like, they're radiation monsters, some of them.
Oh my god.
Fuck that shit. Like, we can't live with that. They are from a time before we even existed. We cannot do this. But no. I guess they change that perspective on it when later on in this movie, actually, so I shouldn't say that. But the argument is that they'll balance each other out by fighting each other, but that's gonna like destroy cities and stuff, as we see in all these movies. I guess besides Skull Kong Island.
And some of the fights, like there's a fight in this movie that are so destructive that the city is most likely not inhabitable again for quite some time.
Yes, never again.
and like let's be honest, there's shit that happens to Godzilla in this movie that I'm like, all right, if this Godzilla fights King Kong,
right,
Kong ain't got no fucking chance.
No chance.
And so it kind of just made like the setup for the next movie like kind of a joke, because it's like, come on now,
yeah,
Kong's gonna fight that. No way.
Yeah. No way. So, also an argument for trying to live with the monsters does come from the Ghidorah storyline. So Ghidorah is actually an alien. While most of these creatures are native to Earth, Ghidorah is an alien and hostile and wants to destroy everything. Yeah. And Godzilla is like the only thing that can destroy it. So if it happened once, it can happen again.
All right. That's fair. But why don't we, I don't know, build our own Godzilla?
All right, I think we need closing statements. I think we need closing statements now. We gotta move on.
Okay. I see what you're doing. Yeah, I still think it's a fun movie.
Right.
I harp on it. It's very boring human characters, very kind of textbook plot line. They try to get you intrigued with the human characters, and they kind of work. I kind of care for some of them, but for the most part, they're very inconsequential, and I just want to see Godzilla fight more monsters. And there's plenty of that in this movie. There is a lot of Godzilla fighting, and it's a lot of fun. There's a lot of good insight into his character and how like Godzilla is like a predator at times or a hunter. I don't know. It still gets the fun. It gets the scope of these creatures right. As you said, the designs are beautiful, and I give it 2.5 stars. I recommend it, but it's not the most thrilling monster movie.
Oh, I would argue that it is extremely thrilling. I mean, there's several different monster fights. I do recognize your complaints with the movie, though. It is a full-face movie. I do recommend it. This face system I have is fairly open-ended, I will say as a clarification, if it's got a full face, I probably recommend that you see it. Otherwise, I'll say so, because I think there is a couple movies that I was like, hey, is this a full-face movie, but it's sad. I'm pretty sure there's been a couple times that I've said that. So anyhow, I think, yeah, go watch this movie. It really gets the monster movie feel to it. But it's definitely over the top at times too.
Yeah, that brings us to our most recent film, available on HBO Max until the end of April. Godzilla vs. Kong.
Yeah.
Again, not to be confused with 1962's King Kong vs. Godzilla.
That's right. Yes, put that out of your mind right now. This is not that movie.
This is not that. It's not that movie.
It's different.
Yeah, that movie inspired a lot of criticism and controversy because there is no clear winner at the end of it. I haven't watched the movie, but I have watched the fight because I like watching. I've grown to love watching monster battles. And so I've YouTubed a lot of the Godzilla fights, and they both just kind of fall into the water, and then King Kong emerges. So it's like King Kong is the victor, but he didn't really actually take down
Godzilla lives in the water.
Well, yeah, but this is 1962. And so that this is the time of like Sherlock Holmes falls off a waterfall, and it's like, well, he's dead. And so it's kind of it's the same here, where it's like they fell into the water and it's like, oh, are they dead? And then King Kong rises and it's like, oh, King Kong wins. And it's like, but did he? Like, Godzilla just kind of fell with them. Like, there's no clear victor. And obviously, I mean, come on. You look at the two of them, and it's obvious that Godzilla has to win. He has to.
He has more muscle mass, for one. Like, the one thing, he even has opposable thumbs. So, like, there goes Kong's advantage right there.
So true. So true. And like Kong isn't like, his fur is penetrable, especially by atomic breath. Like,
oh yeah, jeez. Oh my
come
God.
on. It's painful, but that's what this movie's about. This movie is
overcoming adversity.
There you go.
Okay,
I'll let you synopsize, but I'll set up with the crew behind it all. It's directed by Adam Wingard, who he mentioned that he is really excited to do this movie because he's allowed to do this just vomit blockbuster where you just have as much fun as you want. You don't worry about art and director style and everything. You just entertain. And then he's going to use this to hopefully build the movies that are more personal. He's mentioned that he's hoping that this gives him the kind of status where he's able to go off and do these personal movies. And I gotta say, like, I got some shit to say about Godzilla vs. Kong, but
right,
I am excited to see where he goes from here because he set himself up really well. Like, good job, Adam Wingard.
It's a fun movie for sure. I enjoyed watching it.
I'm sure he did. Yeah, I don't think this is his debut, but I'm sure he's done other stuff. The story is by Michael Dougherty, who directed and wrote the last one, and Terry Rossio, but it was rewritten and mostly written by Eric Pearson, who did Thor Ragnarok and is doing the upcoming Black Widow, co-wrote both of those, and Max Bernstein, who is the writer of the previous 3 films in this franchise. He has at least had the same hand of a writer throughout with Max Bernstein or Berenstein.
Berenstein Bear.
Berenstein Bear, exactly. And so that's nice. It's nice knowing that there is one devoted fan who is, staying true to through all 4 of these films.
Yeah. Cool. Well, fuck yeah. So, this movie, it is definitely told from the perspective of Kong. I don't care if anybody tells me different.
Yeah, that's one of the beauties, is it's just like the director went in saying that he wanted to give both of them their own characters that the audience is, both understands and has emotion for. Right. So I'm just like, you know what? You actually made me feel for Kong. And you made me, I guess, I didn't honestly, there's not really much paid attention to
No,
Godzilla.
yeah, I feel like Godzilla kind of takes a back seat a little bit in this story.
Yeah.
But he's had one other movie, so, they wanted to make it fair. But anyways, Kong, since Skull Island has been taken over by Monarch. And they have him in a colossal enclosure. And he knows it. Eventually, that makes them worry, so they start to transport him. I think that's the story, across the sea. Meanwhile, something's got a bee in Godzilla's bonnet, okay? And he starts going crazy on just like out of nowhere, it seems like, to people, and is just tearing through cities and towns. Yeah, no reason in sight. And eventually, that leads to Kong breaking free, and they fight each other. And there's some other really fun elements to this movie. But that, I think, is the general synopsis of...
It's almost like the reverse of Godzilla King of Monsters, where, they awaken Ghidorah, and it's like, oh shit, Godzilla, protect us. Well, in this movie, Godzilla is just destroying people, and they're like, oh shit, King Kong, you're a prisoner, but will you protect us?
Will you help us? And we already know that Kong is benevolent from the first movie. And it's really cute. I really like the relationship he has with the deaf character. She's a child.
Gia, played by Kaylee Hoddle.
She is really cute and very sympathetic, and really connects with Kong because she's in the enclosure with him for some reason.
She's the last of the people of that island, I believe. Right.
I think that's true.
I think they're the Iwi people. But yeah, she's kind of been adopted by a scientist that's part of Monarch. Eileen Andrews, played by Rebecca Hall. When we were watching this, I couldn't for the first 30 minutes. I was like, who the hell is this actor? I couldn't remember where Rebecca Hall is from. And then I realized, I'm not using my phone. I could just look it up on my phone. I'm not in the theaters. Right. And so I looked it up, and she's from The Prestige. She plays Christian Bale's wife in The Prestige. And she's entertaining. Again, we have another monster movie where they spend a lot of time trying to focus on the human characters, and not many of them are very interesting. Like Gia, I'm compelled by. I like her relationship with Kong.
Exactly.
And his need to protect her is endearing and drives a lot of the action of the movie, where you're just like, how is Kong going to try to save her, or is she in danger? They don't really utilize that well, though. I feel like there's moments where they could have utilized that much better. Sure.
I did like, this might be a mild spoiler. It's a mild spoiler. Kong actually knows sign language. And so he has been communicating with this girl, and it takes a while for the scientists to figure that out, that he knows language. That's a really interesting moment, too, because all of a sudden they're like, oh God, he's a sentient thing, and we got him shackled to a ship. Yeah. And there's a lot of really good moments with Kong like that, getting to feel more like he's a person.
They really humanize his character. You relate to him a lot. You definitely are rooting for him in the battles with Godzilla. Right. Because I think that's kind of how Adam Wingard went into this, was obviously Godzilla's going to win. Right. There's no match between what they have done with Godzilla, what they have set up, his height, his build, the things he's taken on, versus King Kong. There's no fucking match. So I think they went into it knowing that, and so they built up this emotional connection with Kong to make it even more tense, because it's like, even when they're fighting, even if you are rooting for Godzilla to win, you're just kind of like, oh, Kong, come on, you got to pull through. They really need you right now, buddy.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it really makes those fights a lot more intense, and they definitely try to even the scale out for the fights to make it believable. So,
right. So what else is there to talk about that's not spoilery? Oh, maybe we should say that Kyle Chandler and Millie Bobby Brown they're in this movie.
They are in it, and their story is just completely not needed.
Yeah, it's not needed. Well, Kyle Chandler really isn't in the movie at all.
No, he's kind of just there to turn around and look at the camera like, oh.
Yeah, worry about his daughter, who's trying to go on a adventure with podcaster and amateur sleuth Bernie Hayes, played by Brian Tier Henry.
Yeah, we podcasters have the most wacky adventures, and she knew that.
We do.
And she jumped on board this conspiracy theorist podcaster's adventure ship, and they went off on a crazy adventure that went from wild areas with Monarch or whoever, and then shot them miraculously to Hong Kong, where they were needed to do some story plot shit.
Yeah,
and along the way
wasn't necessary.
No, well, I mean, I guess it helped them save the day at the end, but along the way, they literally stumble onto every single plot device that they need to stumble upon.
Right, yeah.
To save the day, and it's just so ridiculous that I'm just like, why are we going back to these characters? Let's just stop it. Come up with some other way for them to end this story. They're just a very shoehorned plot element that, God, it was so ridiculous.
Yeah. I still like Millie Bobby Brown's performance, and the person playing opposite of her, Josh. I'm not sure who it was. Yeah, I thought maybe his name was Josh. Yes, played by Julian Dennison. Josh Valentine is his name.
Oh, sure, he had a last name.
Yeah, apparently. Yeah, he steals his brother's car or van to take Millie Bobby Brown on this adventure with this podcaster, and he's just worried about things the whole time. He's like, why are we doing this? He's that character. It's a very tropey group, really.
But Bernie Hayes, the podcaster, Tyree Henry, he's the voice of Miles' dad in Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. I mentioned when we were watching, I was like, I think I recognize his voice from something, and I was like, I just don't know what it is. And it was Spider-Verse.
So, okay, we watch partied this, and we had some, technical difficulties in the beginning.
Yeah.
We did that because we wanted Ronvald Descal to be a part of this in some way. So shout out to our love you, Ronvald.
Yeah, we were able to watch half of it with him before technical details just destroyed it. But before that, on my end, I was having a really hard time of separating the movie sound from you guys. Oh man.
So I was having trouble hearing either of it. So it took me a while to figure out my settings for that. So the introduction to Bernie Hayes when he's being a detective walking around the Monarch facility and getting his spy flash drive in the computer and shit. I could hardly hear what he was saying. I feel bad because I didn't get a good taste of his performance, and I maybe I should have went back and looked at it. So for that I will apologize to Brian Tyree Henry because I didn't get a good judge of your performance.
Yeah, it's not. I don't know. I guess I was affected by how we watched it, but I also wasn't really intrigued by his character in any way. He just kind of seemed like another character that's just we need another trope to throw in there quick. This crazy conspiracy nut.
Yeah.
And I don't know, the whole Millie Bobby Brown subplot was just so annoying. Every time we went back to it, I'm like, no, go back to Gia and King Kong and Godzilla.
Yeah, please,
and
for
the
the love
Hollow
of
Earth
Mike.
weirdness. Yeah, but I don't know. There's so much weird, unnecessary things in between the fun battles. But I think I need to get behind a spoiler wall to talk some.
Let's do it.
Deeper into it.
build it.
Ahoy! Hey, oh, there be spoilers ahead. Skip to hour 1 minute 9. Second 10, and you'll be fine.
Yeah, so the big shit that goes down is, as I said, obviously King Kong is going to lose to Godzilla. Like,
Right.
It's just obvious. I'm sorry. All the King Kong fans out there who are putting their mad bets. I believe there are 3 Godzilla versus King Kong fights, and the first one definitely ends with Godzilla winning.
Right. Definitely.
The humans are like, fuck, shut everything down, so Godzilla thinks we're all dead, and they kind of trick him into thinking he won via the kill shot. The problem is Godzilla will double tap everything but King Kong for whatever fucking reason.
I have a reason. I think ancient recognition, the 2 races knew each other. The Godzilla creatures, and they knew that in truth they are protectors of the earth, both of them. So he's like, if you'll stop fighting me, then I'll let you go. And then he was cool. I think, Godzilla has, I feel, a lot of knowledge of the different creatures, because he knew he had to go after Ghidorah. And at the end of that movie, that all the other monsters are around him, and all he has to do is like do this like shoulder triumph yell thing, whatever he does, and the rest of the monsters are like, yes, king of monsters, yes, of course, and they bow to him.
And they all bow to him. Yeah, that's true. But that's the thing, is Godzilla had to win in this movie also, because if he lost to Kong, then he loses the King of Monsters title, and that would just be rude to Godzilla. He just earned it after 30 some fucking movies. So, yeah, I can respect that. You do get a lot of that insight into their species and how they, as you said, they were protectors before times changed.
Right.
Because you go into the Hollow Earth. That's what this movie looks into. Is you get into the Hollow Earth, and how there's this weird Earth within Earth, and it makes no sense. It's ridiculous, but it's fun, campy. And how they explore it is intriguing, even though I was kind of drifting at that point, and like my ADHD brain was like,
I loved it.
I don't know, my ADHD brain was just like starting to go to my phone at that point, because I was just like, yeah, cool, weird Earth, what's going on over here on Reddit?
So I was intrigued by it because they had dropped this Hollow Earth bullshit and King of Monsters, and then they talked about it very briefly. Actually, no, they do it in Kong Skull Island too. They talk about it. So they've been teasing it the whole time. And then when they started mentioning it in this movie, and we're doing the watch party, I was like, are they going to do Jules Verne? Are they going to do this the center of the Earth? Because I know it's been done very recently, but I feel like it would fit in this world so well, though, like, because they really go for a comical, kid-friendly element in the interpretations they've done, and I would like to see it done like this. I think that could be really fun.
Yeah, and you have it's very Skull Island-esque, like the whole the atmosphere of Hollow Earth is, and you get the feeling that that's where King Kong's kind used to live. Well, I think they show that maybe.
Oh, they do. Again. They do. Yeah. There's like a temple and everything that they built. They had a whole society and a culture.
Yeah, and he gets weapons to help him fight Godzilla, and they're weapons made from Godzilla's. Like, I thought that was pretty cool, because his axe that's in the trailer, he has this glowing axe. And the stone used for it is one of the dorsal fins of a Godzilla.
Jeez.
So that's how later Godzilla can charge it with his atomic breath.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, but that's the problem in this movie, is it's very predictable, though.
Yeah, one thing I didn't predict, if I might say, this is at the very end of it too, is when the axe does get charged and he uses it for ways we'll talk about later. But at the end of that fight, Kong drops it and it just shatters, and that was like him being like, I'm not gonna try to fight you if you don't try to fight me, and it ends in a draw, even though they weren't fighting each other in that very moment.
But I was gonna say, I don't think it ends in a draw.
You're right. Godzilla wins.
Yeah, Godzilla definitely wins because that's where it's like very predictable. Is they're gonna fight, Godzilla's gonna win, but then something else is gonna happen and they're gonna have to team up and fight together because that's how all this shit always happens. Is it's like who's gonna win between X or Y, and it's just like oh here comes Z and X and Y have to fight together to beat Z, and it's just like they always cop out like that, and that's what happens here. Is they have that second fight. Godzilla whoops King Kong's ass again, doesn't double tap, and I expect your opinion because I think that makes a lot of sense that he respects that King Kong and his species were once a protector also, and as long as King Kong's willing to give up the fight, he is willing to. But they have another fight that's going on and even though we're behind a spoiler wall, I feel like I have to say major spoilers ahead.
Major spoilers.
If you really don't want to know anything, skip forward to the end of the spoiler wall.
Right.
But yeah, you get King Ghidorah again. Basically, the humans are using the remaining skull of King Ghidorah somehow to pilot telepathically a monstrosity known as Mechagodzilla.
Mechagodzilla. Yeah, it was great. I liked that.
Oh man, I went like super fanboy giddy when I saw it because it's just like when they reveal it, it's just like this like slight shot of the dorsal fin.
Yeah,
it's like very metal and it's kind of like rising up the body, and I was like, wait a second, I'm like, no, they didn't. They did not fucking do this.
They did it.
And so this was actually one of the things that got slightly spoiled for me.
It's on the internets, all over the internet.
Yeah, and it makes me so sad because some guy on YouTube had put it in his video, in his title of his video. He had done a critique of Godzilla versus King Kong, and he titled it like Godzilla versus King Kong, Mechagodzilla explained. And I was just like, oh man, I was really hoping it was just like a post-credit scene.
It just came out.
Yeah, it pissed me off. I left a scathing comment on there because it made me mad.
Yeah,
and I showed him who's boss. But yeah, that really pissed me off, and that's why we're not gonna do that kind of shit. We will spoil some shit every now and then, I'm sure. Obviously, we just spoiled that, but we did so behind a spoiler wall. So
yeah, we like to warn you guys, our potatoes. Yeah. So that's why we're better. We're the best. Green and faceless, kings of podcast.
Well, who's really king is King Ghidorah because that shit short circuits.
Yeah.
And like I didn't really understand if King Ghidorah was operating it or if it just short circuited and it went to like base function, which is just destroy.
No, I think it was Ghidorah. I'm all 100% on that Ghidorah storyline. Ghidorah is a strong soul, and they fucked around with his dead meat. And he was like, yeah. You thought I was dead? I mean, I am, but my brain good.
And it wiped the fucking floor with Godzilla. That was so funny. That dude, final scene.
That heat beam is fucking cool. Like you could tell that it's a mechanical source and everything. And okay, so now that we're bringing up Mechagodzilla, we should talk the storyline behind it. Kind of dumb. I'll go with that.
Yeah,
it needed more. It needed more development for it to work, I feel like. But I mean, it did the job it needed to do. It introduced why the Mechagodzilla needs to be taken down, and I would have liked to seen a little bit. I would have liked to seen a scene where it was being controlled by that pilot before it got taken over by Ghidorah.
Yeah, I think there was. One scene where it was just. Yeah, where it was just by itself for like 15 minutes, and then it got supercharged by Hollow Earth.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe I missed that. But anyhow, maybe another scene. Like, I would have liked to have seen the human pilot fight against Godzilla, at least to the extent like we could see, oh man, this could be a viable way for humans to survive against these colossals.
Yeah.
And then it goes wrong. I think that story would have been more compelling.
Well, that story is focused on more on Pacific Rim.
That's true.
But I agree with you. That would have been much more compelling if they had done that. I don't know to the extent that we see the human operator. I don't think he fights anything really. I think it's just like showing how he controls things.
I don't even know if I can remember his name, the character's name.
No, I don't. Honestly, I don't either. Because there is the only like side character that I remember is Lance Reddick because he's from Fringe. I don't remember his character at all in this movie, but I remember he made an appearance.
That's right.
I remember we were both like, "Oh, it's that guy from Fringe."
Oh my god!
But I don't remember what he does in this movie at all.
I don't either. Not at all.
This whole movie is just like already out of my head, except for the monster fight scenes, and that's how it should be.
That's how it should be.
That's really how it should be.
You're right. You're right. Yeah. Anyhow, I think what we were trying to get to is that Kong has to help Godzilla defeat Mechagodzilla. And they do so by doing tag team wrestling moves, and it's pretty awesome. It's great. John Cena comes in, and he tries to tackle one of the monsters, and they're like, "No, you too small," and they kick him.
You're too tiny. And they bring all the stories together too. They try to bring it like to make it like, look, everything mattered. You know, Gia is the one who tells Kong. It's like she comes up and signs to him. It's like Godzilla is not your enemy. You know, go fight the big giant metal monster. That's your enemy. And King Kong's like, okay, I'll do it.
All right.
And Millie Bobby Brown and her sidekicks, like, they pour coffee on some machinery that short circuits Mechagodzilla.
Yeah.
So they make that storyline matter because they're just like, they really don't do shit at all except stumble on all the answers, do they?
Oh man.
Like, here, I'll have them save the day by pouring coffee. No, they pour whiskey. It's whiskey onto the
because Bernie carries a flask.
Yeah, it's a brand drop, I believe. I can't remember what the brand is though.
I don't know.
I'm willing to drop the spoiler wall and talk closing statements if you are. I think I got it.
Shit, I had one more thing to say. Oh, so I just wanted to say, because I don't think it's really evident, because the storyline for Mechagodzilla is so strange, that is the reason why Godzilla got all mean.
Right.
and started wrecking shit, because he was mad at the humans for trying to make a rival for him, and he could tell they were messing around with Ghidorah.
What was happening?
They knew.
See, I don't think I even caught that. I don't think I was just like, yeah, Godzilla just gets mad sometimes.
Yeah, I think there was a scene that was cut or something that might have explained it explicitly. Man. But yeah, I think that's why he was getting mad, is because
that makes sense.
Yeah. I think the next one though is gonna have some Jaegers in it, and they're gonna try. I guess Gundam's probably more appropriate because I think that's more
Jaegers is Pacific Rim.
Yeah,
they might just make Pacific Rim part of Godzilla and just do Pacific Rim versus Godzilla.
Oh man, that would be so strange, because then they have to morph. They gotta have some explanation why the kaiju rift, the Pacific Rim or whatever they call it exists in the Godzilla world now.
Maybe a new riff opens up, and it opens up onto the Godzilla world.
Oh shit!
There you go.
Hey, there's a new riff. We better go check it out.
Come pay me, Legendary. I'm here.
The Atlantic Rim.
There you go.
All right, let's take all that.
But to close on Godzilla versus King Kong, not King Kong versus Godzilla. Godzilla versus
King Kong. God damn it.
2021. Yeah,
2021.
It's another fun monster movie. It's on par with King of Monsters. I gave it 2.5 stars. It's thrilling, fun entertainment. Really boring side characters that we constantly go back to and really irritated me whenever we went back to them, because there would always be that really fun monster scene, and I'm just like, yeah, this is great, and I'm enjoying it. And it's like, fucking kill him.
It could have been all monsters. It could have been.
Yeah, but no, it really could be. That's what I want. I literally just want a monster movie where the directors realize, and this is my version of a monster movie. Whoever wants to pay me for it, get me to write a script and everything, I'm all ears. But I just want a monster movie where your only interaction with the humans is just like, they are literally just ants. You don't even focus on them.
Right.
You use them to create scope. You use them to show when the monster kills something, you see all these people dying too, and it's just like you use it to relate to how powerful this is. But I want the whole movie to just focus on the monsters. I don't even want there to be dialogue.
Unless the monsters can talk.
No, I don't want the monsters to talk. Absolutely not. No. I just want it to be. I want it to be like the Planet of the Apes, the more recent one, which I know the apes talk, but I want it to be like that, where it's you just look into the characters of these monsters, and yes, they are fighting, but there are characters beneath them, as this movie showed with Kong, which I thought was really well done. I really do like what they did with King Kong here, and there are some great moments where you see the scope of Godzilla, where he's like in the background just destroying shit, and I really liked how it looked, but I don't think it has the same scope as King of Monsters in that regard. But still fun, still really really riveting fights with kaiju that I was all on board for.
Yeah, I definitely enjoyed it. I give the movie a full face. I would say that this particular movie does a great job of making you feel for one monster in particular. Anyways, you didn't even get that in Kong Skull Island, and I think they did a good job in that movie of focusing on the monster. So yeah, all in all, good movie, worth watching, but like you said, side characters were kind of blah.
But who wins? Who wins the Triumvirate?
It seems like we might disagree. I don't know though. We'll just see. I honestly wanted to give it to King of Monsters because there's just so many monsters. and that might not be the most critical view of these three movies.
Whichever one entertains you.
But yeah, I was really thoroughly entertained for King of Monsters. And honestly, I think that I also identify with Kong more, and he's not in that movie. I definitely like what they did with King Kong in that last movie. But Kong Skull Island is also a legitimately good movie, but I like other King Kong movies more. I like that Peter Jackson one more.
That's fair.
Honestly. I think I give it to King of Monsters.
We do disagree. I give it to Skull Island. I think King of Monsters is great for the fights. Right. I think they are a lot of fun, but I think there's a lot of fun fights in Skull Island, and the characters are compelling. I really do actually care about those soldiers, some of them.
Fair enough. And John C. Reilly's great. I love him in that movie.
Yeah. And I love his, I love, what's that show with Steve Brule? His one show.
Oh, I don't know.
Dang it. I might have written it down. I will find it. Check it out with Steve Brule.
All right.
Yeah, he plays this. It's just one of John C. Reilly's just ridiculous characters. It's just absolutely silly comedy that I love, and I love him being able. Yeah, I love him being able to be a comedian, and he's just great in Skull Island.
But he's a good actor too. He's good at doing straight roles too, but it always has just a little undertone of of goofiness because
Yeah.
he's John C. Reilly. I don't know what else to say.
And it's great. It's great. I love it. And I mean, all three of these movies are worth it for a monster beat 'em up. But I don't know, just watching Skull Island again, like when there's a moment where he throws a tree through a helicopter, like I was just like, I jumped off my couch like, oh fuck yeah! I was like, I was fueled. I was so pumped when that happened. I was like, hell yeah, Skull.
I agree. So I kind of agree with you that is the better of the three movies as a movie, but for some reason, and it could just be because I'd seen this movie before, and when I watched it, I was a little disappointed. But I was super pumped the whole time for King of Monsters, even though I disliked the main character. But like, I even thought the storyline was good. You know, it was a predictable storyline. I knew exactly who was gonna betray who before it happened. I'm just glad they didn't save that for the end of the movie, because that would have been, I'm like, okay, yeah, what a twist.
Oh shit, you got me.
Yeah. But just watching Godzilla go through these people, and also Monarch is an actual component to the story, whereas like it's such a, like, they get him to the island in Skull Island, and in the movie before that they're just there, and so I'm just happy that storyline actually came to fruition in this part. Like, I think that might be one thing that's pretty cool about why that guy from Cabin in the Woods, I can't remember his name at the top of my head, is in this movie, is because it kind of gives it a feel like there's this dynamic that's always existed in this company. And I think they do a good job of that. And also the scenes underwater where they explain some shit about Godzilla's background, good stuff.
Yeah.
It ticked all the boxes for me. I really enjoyed it, watching all the way through. Yeah,
that temple set design too is pretty freaking great.
Yeah, it is.
I will admit that some of the background details in King of Monsters is really well done.
Yeah. So we disagree. That's okay. We can do that.
Really okay.
Yeah.
Because we're America, damn it.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, sure.
We're in America.
We're humans. That's where it really comes down.
We are?
To. Oh, yeah.
That's news to me.
You gotta be more on top on it.
Are you saying that? Oh, did I just blow the cover? I mean, I thought they knew.
Yeah, the government.
I thought the potatoes.
The government. I mean, well, yeah, they do, but the government wants us to, like, every now and then.
They want us to
think.
Okay.
They want us to make it think it's a joke.
Oh, all right. I see. Okay, we are really human beings.
Yeah.
And we live in Indiana in neighborhoods, and we drive cars to our 9 to 5.
Yep.
Is that? Am I saying that right?
Yeah, 9 to 5. Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's our show. I've been the Faceless Leon.
And I'm the Green Traveler from Gorsh.
Yeah. Safe travels.
Just a joke.
It's just a joke, yeah. There's no place called Gorsh.
Don't go
safe travels
in your solar maps.
And good night. Green and Faceless on the Couch is a proud production of FictionWorks 19. If you like the show, please show your support by rating and reviewing us on Apple Podcasts. Like, follow, subscribe, wherever you might listen. We also now have a Patreon account. If you feel so inclined to support us in a financial manner, please become a patron by visiting patreon.com/greenandfaceless. You can also find more information about us on our Facebook account or on the FictionWorks 19 Instagram account. Thank you so much for listening.